You're walking down a quiet street at night. Nothing is wrong. No one is following you. And yet your heart rate climbs, your ears sharpen, your eyes start scanning doorways and parked cars. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was built to do, by a world that no longer exists. For most of human history, the dark wasn't just dark. It was dangerous. Real predators. Real ambushes. Real consequences for the careless. And the humans who survived long enough to have children weren't the calmest ones. They were the jumpy ones. The ones who flinched at a snapping branch. You inherited their nervous system, not their world, just their wiring. Your amygdala, the small almond-shaped cluster of neurons buried deep in your brain, is your threat detector. It doesn't reason. It doesn't wait for evidence. It fires first and asks questions later, because in the environment it evolved for, hesitation could mean death. Researchers call this shortcut threat bias. In the late 1990s, psychologist Arne Oman flashed images on a screen for a fraction of a second. Snakes, spiders, flowers, mushrooms. People spotted the snakes and spiders dramatically faster, even when none of the pictures stayed on screen long enough to consciously register. Your brain saw the threat before you knew you were looking. So why does that matter to you, scrolling on your phone, lying awake at 2 a.m.? Because that same circuitry is still running. It just doesn't have predators to chase anymore. So it finds other things to fixate on. A text that says, "We need to talk." An email with no subject line. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between a tiger in the grass and a tiger in your inbox. This is why you replay conversations at night. Psychologists call this negativity bias, and Roy Baumeister's research put it bluntly: bad is stronger than good. A missed meal cost your ancestors a bad day. A missed predator cost them everything. You are the descendant of the warriors. Not because worry feels good, because it worked. The moment your ancestors sensed danger, their bodies transformed. Cortisol and adrenaline flooded the bloodstream. Heart rate spiked. This is the response physiologist Walter Cannon first described over a century ago, and it hasn't changed. Your body still runs the same sequence today, whether the threat is a predator or a Slack notification. The trouble is, you can't fight an email, so all that ancient energy just sits in your body. Tense shoulders, a stomach that won't settle. That's not weakness. That's a survival system with nowhere to release itself. Ever wonder why horror movies work? Why your pulse quickens during a jump scare you know is coming? Because somewhere underneath the popcorn and the safety of your living room, your ancient brain doesn't fully believe it's fiction. You get the thrill of the chase without the risk of the bite. Ancient threats resolved quickly. The lion either caught you or it didn't. Modern threats don't resolve like that. The argument lingers for days. The uncertainty about your job lingers for months. Your threat system stays switched on, low and constant, with no clear ending to tell it the danger has passed. So what do you do with a brain like this? You don't get to delete 20,000 generations of threat detection, but you can understand it. The dread you feel isn't a character flaw. It's an inherited reflex that kept your ancestors alive. Anthropologist Sarah Hardy has spent decades studying how human survival depended on shared vigilance, groups of people watching out for each other so no single person carried the fear alone. That instinct hasn't disappeared. It's why a scary situation feels lighter the moment someone else is with you. Your nervous system was never built to run alone. It was built to run in a tribe. Maybe that's the real twist. The fear itself isn't the relic. The isolation is. So tonight, when your heart rate climbs for no obvious reason, you don't have to fight it. You can simply notice it. Notice the long line of careful, frightened people standing behind you in time, each one choosing caution, each one surviving long enough to hand you exactly this: a brain built to keep you alive in a world that no longer wants to kill you. You're not broken. You're ancient. And the same wiring that once made you flinch at a shadow is the very same wiring that, somewhere out there tonight, is still quietly making sure you make it home.